Hi, everybody. It's Ryan from Pie Records, and I'm here with John and Amber from Shakin Katz Radio. How are you guys?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. I've heard a lot about you guys from Frankie, and you got a really, really rich history. Do you want to start off with how you started the radio show and where people can hear you?
Amber tells it better than me, but we started in 2007 on a campus radio station. But before that, we formed a club called, well, not a club, but a group called London Rockabilly Psychobilly Crew for here in London, Canada, and we put on shows. So this girl was doing a special on rockabilly at CHRW, the campus community radio here, and we went and did the interview, and afterwards the program director Michael Brown came up to Amber and I and said, why don't you guys do a rockabilly show and a psychobilly show? So Amber said yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was a simple start. I mean, we had been promoting bands within London and area, and just trying to drum up more. Right at that peak in time, things were pretty quiet, rockabilly, psychobilly world, and also surf. So we just thought, let's just do some promoting and try and get people out and enjoy and go from there.
So was your interest in radio from the start, or was it like a happy accident?
It was a happy accident.
Awesome.
For me.
I had been involved in some radio before that was fun and not good at the same time. Some people got their feathers ruffled. So, but like Amber said, it was kind of an accident that happened. So, and now how many years later we're still doing it.
I'm sure you guys are into all types of music, but what drew you to do a rockabilly show other than being asked? What is it about rockabilly that makes you want to do a show about
it? I think I love the music, obviously, and there's kind of cool and different about rockabilly and psychobilly that attracts. I think can attract a lot of people, and you get the groove it and you feel it, and it's just kind of cool.
Awesome. There's a great band. I don't know how close they are to you. Running from Daylight.
Yeah,
we know the boys.
Yeah, they're really good. I really like them. It shows there's great music coming out of Canada.
Oh, there always has been. It's just that it's now coming more to the forefront, it seems like. So, and they're getting recognized a lot more. And which is a good thing because there's a huge amount of rockabilly and especially really cool psychobilly bands that are happening in Canada, and they've been here for years. And it's good, like Running from Daylight is one of the newbies to the block, basically. So
yeah, we know those guys, and they're fun guys. They're really good guys, and they really work. Like the success they're getting, they totally deserve.
Yeah, I agree. So you've done some interviews for some magazines. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, a couple of years ago, I was talking to, he had a Mad Music or Bad Music for Mad People, whatever the magazine, I can't remember the name. And they wanted somebody who knew the rockabilly, psychobilly scene here in Canada to do some interviews and articles, and I did a couple of them for them. I did the Ray Gun Cowboys, which phenomenal band. If your listeners and viewers are familiar with them, they know, but they're not. Check them out. And then I did the Gutter Demons, which I don't know if you're familiar with the Gutter Demons, but they're like a boss band.
Okay.
They're the cream of the crop. Well, both Ray Gun Cowboys are too, but I mean.
But it was also kind of cool because both of these bands were heading over to festivals in Europe. So when John was writing the articles, it kind of was like a showcase through this magazine. So that was like a big bonus for basically the bands plus promoters, right?
Yeah,
So it kind of
exactly.
went hand in hand when the guy was asking for specifics. So just trying to help. And we like to spread all the Canadian talent as we can.
It's a good boost for a band when they have an article out in the country they're going to.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So
I think a lot of bands,
Go ahead.
a lot of bands, they need the promotion, but they gotta go out and get it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You see that a lot where bands don't promote themselves. And we don't mind promoting bands, but it's like when you promote a band, you kind of want them to kind of promote it too.
yeah,
You know, like if you put on a show and we have, it's a good band does that. If you put an article in a magazine for a band, the band should be promoting it too.
I agree. Yeah,
And sometimes that doesn't happen, which is a shame, but
yeah. Sometimes the bands are caught up in the touring and the making of the music. I think
true.
that's a heavy load on them as well.
Yeah.
So you also have a blog. Do you still do the blog?
Yeah, I did the blog. It basically,
well, bands would send us releases, right? And John had been writing long time ago about the punk scene here in London and around in Ontario. And this is going back to his youth days and the beginning of punk. And so he decided he wanted to kind of take the new music that we were receiving for the show, because a lot of people didn't have a clue or they didn't know that these bands were releasing music. So he would just write a short, quick, to the point blog on the new release. So that was
Yeah.
pretty sweet. They loved it. It got us lots of promotion, and also promotion for them because they would put it and attach it to their website or their Facebook page or whatever. So it was rewarding in that regard. And then we would play them on the radio show too, right? So kind of went hand in hand. And it was a good way. It was good for us. It was good for them.
yeah, I plan to start, since the lockdown happened here in Canada, well, it happened same time down there. I kind of stopped doing the record reviews, so I just be putting the playlist up, but I plan when I get a little bit more free time to start putting more record reviews up. And my criteria for the record reviews are basically rockabilly, psychobilly, and surf music, and that's all I'm interested in putting on there.
Very cool. Very cool. You did say you do some 60s R&B once in a while.
Yeah, we put it once in a blue moon. We play the show. Yeah,
And is that from current bands or old school?
mostly current bands, I would
I
say.
would, yeah,
Yeah, like you kind of get that, like some of like. I'm gonna use a bad example here. Like she tells it amalgamation. Her stuff maybe R&B. Very, I can't pronounce her name. Anyways, there's a few girls. Cora Lynn. Some of her stuff borders on that. You know, and we like throwing that in, like Amber likes to say, we like to mix it up.
Yeah.
Like we throw cowpunk in the show too once in a blue moon.
You still book the shows?
no, we kind of stopped doing that. It's probably been at least 8 years now. We just got really busy between, I had started up a couple of years before that. I had started up a vintage store in downtown London. So that's consuming a lot of time, plus just doing the playlist. Plus there was other things like, I mean, John
Life
worked,
gets in the way.
yeah, just all those little bits and pieces. And we just kind of were like, we can't do it all, right?
Right.
And it seemed like when we hit the promoting of shows, rockabilly and psychobilly here in Canada was on an incline. So we were on right at the right time, and it kind of peaked. And then it's like anything, it kind of trails a little bit downward. And it just seemed like a good fit for us just to kind of look at other things and focus on the show, the radio show. We found out when this was unbelievable, when we found out there was people in Australia that were listening to us. They called in and they wanted us to they turned us in every, at that time we were on Saturdays, and they wanted us to give a big shout out to one of the guys in the garage, and it was his birthday. and
Oh,
they were
wow.
going to play us. And we were like, what? Australia? So we thought, you know what, let's just put all our energy into doing a show and doing a good show and spreading it around with the rockabilly and psychobilly. Once you kind of find out that you're hitting touches of the world that you never thought, it kind of changes your kind of focus on things.
Yeah.
And it's good for us because like we like doing it, and it's also good for people because then lots of people over in Europe will say, we didn't know you had a psychobilly like band like this here, or we've done interviews with American bands and they'll say, we never even heard of these guys, they're friggin' awesome, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
anyways,
what?
that's how it all kind of flowed in together and stopped doing the shows.
At the time we found out about Australia, a little bit later, we found out that we were one of the bigger shows on the station and that we had literally a worldwide following. And of course, we had no clue about this, because we just figured we had 20 listeners in London or, Toronto. We had thousands of listeners. And what kind of backed it up was where we get our requests from. We get requests from Europe. We get requests from the Eastern Seaboard, the Northeast Seaboard of the United States. We get a lot of requests from California and the West Coast, and a few from South America and Australia, So we found all this out kind of at the same time.
And that was about 3 years into the show too. Like, let's be honest, like it took a while. It wasn't like we just got instant fame. It was just kind of over, I think people just started to find out more and more about Shakin Katz. And that's when we started to get all these viewers and people tuning in and calling in for requests. And we wouldn't have maybe be able to some of the requests like that night when we were doing the show, but we'd always say, we'll play you next week. So
awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of fun.
So being a station in London, and you are on the radio, how do people from around the world get to listen to you? Like where is it available?
It's radiowestern.ca. The state actually has a podcast. I just found out they're working, trying to get the archives back up. But if they go to CHRW all letters, I'm so used to saying that because I'm an older guy. But radiowestern.ca is the website where they can hear the so-called podcast.
Okay. So what do you think is one of the most enticing things about the rockabilly lifestyle?
I think it's the culture of it all. I mean, everybody always says it's the hot rods, it's the music, it's the beat, it's the girls in the clothes and the guys in their leather jackets, right? There's just that mystique of the old and the kind of just bringing that part of that look and that style into today's present, just to be a little bit more unique, and the music goes along with it, right? I see it in the vintage world. I mean, lots of people they're always looking for the 50s and the 60s style dresses and leather, and they jive so well together, the two cultures, and the music fits in. And I think present day music in the rockabilly scene is just a little bit more jived up, and it has like touches of blues, or it has like a little bit of kind of like a country flair to it, and it kind of reaches more and more people on a larger scale now than just what it was when it started out. But people still want the look and the style, if that makes any sense on where it goes.
Yeah.
Right?
I think too, if you really like rock and roll, if you say you like rock and roll, you have to like rockabilly, you have to like surf music, and you have to like, dare I say, you have to like psychobilly, because psychobilly is probably the most unique subculture of the music out there, you know what I mean? But it all comes back to rock and roll and fun. And that's what surf music and rockabilly is.
Yeah. Now, I remember back in the 90s when psychobilly was a big thing. You had kind of the Reverend Horton Heat pushing that out.
Yeah.
With that subgenre, do you find that the culture is kind of a little different in that it's a little bit more aggressive?
Of course it is.
Well, I think that's wrong.
There's nothing wrong with that. It goes with the music.
No,
It goes with
not
the
at all.
beat, right?
We see that shows. You get skinheads and you get punkers at the psychedelic shows, and then you get, like you get normal like students and you working class guys at the shows. You know what I mean, you get a mix. Sometimes there's trouble, but I think for the most part it's.
I don't really call it trouble. I just think it's just people letting off some steam up in the front row. That's it.
Yeah. I was
Right? I'm a front row person. A lot of people can't believe it. I'm front. I'm in there.
Amber gets right in the mosh pit. She gets right in the mosh pit. She's right in the front of the stage. And we have friends that go, do you know where Amber is? And I just go, she's in the mosh pit. And like, oh. And I want these guys to sit at the back because I don't want to get hurt. She's up there just popping, and it's slamming. I don't get it.
The kids respect me though.
I saw the Reverend Horton Heat in 94, 95, and the crowd was so diverse. And even back then, it kind of like I was a punker in college, and I just felt welcome. I saw it was a mixed bill. There was like a big band. There's Reverend Horton Heat, and then there was a punk band. And it was a really great way to kind of get all those bands noticed and get people meshed together. Do you find that's one of the reasons why you do what you do is to bring different scenes together?
I think so. I know like for us, so there's a lot of old school punkers that they love the psychobilly music, right? But they also respect the rockabilly because there's like but they just want it jived up a bit more than like the old school style. But I mean, like John said, like we've seen guys we know that are metalheads and they're at a psychobilly show because they love the intensity of it coming out of the speakers and just the antics that go on the stage. And then there's lots of punkers that come out and they're young, too old. And it's just reminiscence of their youth, right? For us that are older.
I think too, we've had some surf bands come to town and I'll just throw a couple of names out, like, Mark Malibu.
Yeah.
Mark's a friend of ours. His band always brings a good crowd in and they're exciting. But then you smash most surf bands like the King Bees out of Toronto, and people are just flabbergasted by it, like the sound and how sonic it is and how cool it is. You know what I mean, and like they get told to turn the volume down, and these guys turn it up. It's really cool. I mean, it's like if you feel the chest pounding on you feel the music pounding on your chest, and you're 50 feet away from the stage.
Yeah.
They're seeing something.
Yeah.
And the surf fans do that.
I love Wasegas.
Oh yeah. Mark's an awesome guy too.
Yeah, he's so friendly. And I found a lot of people in the surf world are very friendly. And the rockabilly world. It's a very good culture to welcome in new people, I would guess you would say.
Yeah, for sure. So
when we started, it's funny we talk about like that introduced people to culture. When we started, and to this day, what we found was when we used to have to go look for music to show, and we constantly got rejected by every table. I don't know if you're from Canada or not, but the one group of people that always sent us music, young psychobilly bands, and to this day they still do. It's phenomenal. They do more than any other band, any other format, whatever. Young psychobilly guys are totally they're working it more than any other genre.
Really?
Yeah,
like people are surprised by that.
I think it's though part of the fact that it opens the door for them too, right?
Yeah,
You can say to a label if you're looking, well, we've been played on a radio show like in Canada. Like, how come you don't know about us? But for them, that's a bonus, right? And that's part of doing the show. And always supported like new bands, whether it be from the psychobilly scene or the rockabilly or the surf too. Right?
And I was surprised when you told me how many shows you have under your belt.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Around 600, conservatively speaking.
That's a lot of work, and it's a lot of music.
A lot of music. You should see our basement.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you probably love it.
It's kind of crazy because every time a band sends it to us, we have to, at the station, we use like CDs. So we're always downloading all of this onto a CD.
Yeah.
So it's like stacks and stacks and stacks, but it's all cool because you can always go down. If you got a mood for something, you can go down and grab something.
What's it like when you hear a new band, like the excitement level when they're really, really, really good, and you get to play them on the radio and announce them and everything?
It's
cool.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I remember when we got Brad Graves, guy out of Calgary. He formed a new great band called The Great Mistake. He'd been around, but out of it for a while. He formed a band called The Devil's Sons. And anyway, other than blue, he sent us their debut album. And I remember saying to him, you freaking gotta hear this. Like, literally, and like that night, I wrote a review for the blog, and I said, this is your new favorite band. I mean, it blew me away. Blew me away. But it's like the same thing. When I felt that kind of when I heard, I forget the name of the band. I can't believe it. The surf band out of Belgium.
Oh, there's a lot there.
54.
I don't know who you're talking about. Anyways.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but it was a smash mouth surf band. Been around for ages, and it just blew me away. Same thing. We got to play them on the air. It was like, wow, people get to hear this cool stuff.
It
is. It's exciting. I mean, yeah. Go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's always exciting when you get new music. I mean, I'm not saying, I would say 95% of the time it blows us away. And especially if it's a new band, and yeah, there are maybe tweaks and maturity will come with them as they do it more and more and more, right?
Yeah.
But you know, they've got that dynamic kind of combination of each one of the players, and they're working it as hard as they can to go, this band is exciting and they could be big news.
Yeah.
And we always share it that way on the radio show. Like, you've got to check these guys out. And we hope people do. That's the best we can do.
50
Yeah.
foot combo name of the band, I forgot.
50-foot combo. That's right.
Oh, okay. Have you heard of the band Daikaiju?
Because yeah, we played a few times on the show.
I heard them for the first time. One of the bands, I think it's the Me Gustas, told me that I had to check them out, and that was the one that went off for me. When I heard that, I'm like, now this is the kind of music that I could get into.
Yeah, they're a really good band. I think they're kind of that smash mouth that really can appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think they're one of those big guys here.
Yeah, really aggressive. That's what I like about them.
We both like. Probably tell we like that aggressive surf, like.
Oh yeah.
We call it smash mouth.
Smash mouth. Okay. So before we head off, I wanted to make sure I touched on everything. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about that I may not have mentioned?
Not really. We've just been really lucky. Like, also the show has given us the opportunity to do interviews, right? So we've had bands play live off of the studio floor right beside us, knocking out the light system out. That's awesome. That's old school. And we just hooked up microphones, like projecting.
Yeah.
And that was, and it was cool. It was unique. It's different, like just doing it right off the floor. And also we've done lots of phone interviews, and people will say, what a great, I got to check the band out because of that. And
Yeah.
it's not about us. It's about basically the bands. And that's why we started it, basically, is just to promote. And it was based on London and Ontario and then Canada. And then we saw that there was all these new bands coming up, and we just, you embrace it. And I think that's one of the coolest parts of the show for me. I prefer to do the interviews just because, like, you get to find out a little bit more about. And it's very low key, just like this. It's like sitting, I just tell them if they're on the phone, we're sitting in our living room and we're just chatting. Let's just go with it.
We had a few interviews that really kind of blew us away. Like, we had Alan Wilson, who owns Western Star, and I say that because like opened doors for us. And Alan Wilson did it for years, and he agreed to do it. We had Doherty on a few times with Diablo Records, which is a great guy, blows me away, does a lot for psycho. You should check out his surf band, Doherty and the Time Lines.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
But
they're
anyway,
good.
the one that really did it for me more, and probably for Amber too, was we had Roddy Hawkins on the show. To Americans, they might think, oh, he used to be an American, but you know,
He's a Canadian, right?
Yeah. Godfather Canadian rock and roll. When I got to meet him, it was like, it was so cool, because one of my favorite bands was Steppenwolf, and he had worked with these guys, you know, some of those guys started with him, but he did the band, he did Crowbar. You go on to all these bands, he worked with Rick James at one time, with Dominic Torano, and have a guy like that, like he said, we were only at 5 minutes, and we had him on the show for almost half an hour, and we had to kind of put him off the air. And it was like, it was freaking Ronnie Hawkins on the show. It was like, people couldn't get him. We had him on our show because of a great, one of our station employees was Derek, was really cool and got us these great. And I'll never forget having Ronnie Hawkins on the show.
It was a big deal because he's iconic to a lot of Canadians, right? So for us, especially in the rockabilly world, so that's about, like, those were our highlights of being able to do the show.
I got
it's
go ahead.
No.
I'm interested because I'm such an interview junkie. I do interviews, and when I'm not doing interviews, I'm watching interviews, especially music interviews. Is there anybody that you were kind of starstruck over, and anybody that you really would like to connect with and get on your show?
We've had some of the, like, most of the Canadian bands we've had on the show. Like, I would like to get Cooper from, I think that's a guy's name, from the band and Ambassadors, only because he was in Hero Churros. You might be familiar with them. That would be really cool for me personally. And the band Ambassadors are one of my favorite surf bands. So, but we had one of my favorite bands, Batmobile. We've had Haroon Hammers on the show. That was a big thrill for us. I like to get Sparky from Demented Our Go.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool, you know.
We were in the process of starting to think about it, and then everything just shut down. And we can't go into the station to do interviews. Then it makes it a little bit, but we can't do any interviews, right? So now that I've learned how to use Zoom, thanks to you, big one, maybe that'll be an alternative, right?
There's always more people to interview. The thing is, like, with the station, the station gives us a budget to do that, and we're very lucky. There's a lot of didn't get that, but you know, there's always a lot of people to interview, and like, doesn't matter what country they're from. Like, it'd be cool to interview one of the Fireballs from Australia. That's like a really band, no longer just a Zombie Ghost Train. Those guys no longer exist, but they're up there still, right? You know, like Madsen, you know, there's all kinds of bands like that. Surf-wise, the Pool Boys, Madeira, who I think are one of the best bands on the planet. You know, the Madeira guys would be kind of.
I interviewed both of them. And that was a little intimidating, that one, because Yvonne is very, very smart. He's a super smart guy, And Ferenc is also is a very smart guy.
Oh, I can see that. Like, let's face it, if you're in a surf band, you're probably no dummy. If you're in a good surf band, you're probably not a dummy.
Yeah.
You know, like Amber and I both think it's one of the best kind. It's one of them, you gotta be talented. There's no such thing as a shitty surf band. There's average surf bands, but there's no shitty surf bands because
Right.
you can't be.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
there's nowhere to.
Well, that was a great conversation. I think I cut you off though, Amber. Did you want to say something?
Oh, it's okay. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And
No, thank you.
Thank you.
hopefully we can get some of our releases, this one in particular, on your show in the near future.
Cool.
Yeah,
So,
they're on that Black Valley Moon.
yeah.
Is that Black Valley Moon? Yeah, we've actually played them a couple years
Why?
ago.
I was gonna say it was a while ago.
We played them.
Yeah. I put out that 7-inch, and I think they're putting out their full lengths on Sharawaji.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're gaining a following. But Sam has been a musician for a very long time, doing other things. This is kind of a side project. But I wanted to thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. I follow you on Facebook, and I'm always interested in seeing what you have going on.
Oh,
Cool,
thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
I
Appreciate
appreciate your time. Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, have a great night.
Yeah, we will. You too.
Thank you.